Good afternoon. Coldplay are one of the biggest bands in the world, and also simultaneously one of the most divisive bands as well. For me personally, I am in the camp that likes Coldplay. I like pretty much everything they've ever done, albeit some stuff that we'll get to later. But I decided, as a Coldplay fan and a connoisseur of Coldplay, today we're going to be ranking all the Coldplay albums from worst to best. They have 9 studio albums. We're waiting for the 10th one, Moon Music. We don't know when that's coming out. Could be May or September. We don't know yet. But while we wait for that, I thought it would be fun just to do a little ranking. And this is largely based off of what I think. So if there's a ranking that you don't agree with, or you think that an album should be higher or lower, let me know. But again, just remember that this is just my list. It's not the correct one. This is just how I rank their discography. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Number 9, Music of the Spheres. Now, I'd love to start with, some positives, but there has to be a bottom. There has to be a worst Coldplay album. And I think pretty easily, Music of the Spheres 2021 it's bad. It's pretty bad. I remember when this album came out, and I actually kind of dug it at first because I think I was taking copium, and I was like, you know what? Maybe this album isn't so bad. Let me listen to it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's an 8 out of 10. But the more I listened to it and heard the album over and over again, the more tired I got of it, and eventually I just flat out did not like it. It sometimes goes in a very basic direction, very just ABC songwriting, and it doesn't sound like Coldplay, like a Chris Martin solo album, I think, because as far as I'm concerned, there's only 1 or 2 instances in this album where the rest of the band are actually present. Everything else kind of just sounds like Chris Martin doing his own thing, and it's like, where's Johnny Buckland? Where's Will Champion? Where's Guy Berryman? Where are they? They've been so buried in the mix for a lot of these songs that it doesn't feel like a Coldplay album. It feels like a Chris Martin solo project. However, saying that, there are some good moments here. I have 2 highlights for this album: Humankind and Coloratura. I think those are easily the 2 best songs on the album. Humankind is this very anthemic, stadium arena kind of pop rock thing, and it's kind of reminiscent of Jump, and I really like it. I think the chorus is very catchy, and the verses are very nice. We have to, of course, talk about the absolute masterpiece that is Coloratura, a 10-minute long prog rock symphony that's just beautiful and so well crafted. It's so different compared to the rest of the album because, like I said earlier, everything sounds very just But this song, Coloratura, has so much character and so much atmosphere, and it has a really good progression. And oh, dude, the lullaby section about 2/3 of the way into the song, oh my god. But other than Coloratura and Humankind, I think Higher Power is okay. It's not bad by any means. However, it just depends on what mood I'm in. There'll be a day where I'm like, you know what, that song's pretty good, and then there'll be another day where I'm like, it's okay. But yeah, my highlights are Coloratura, Higher Power ish, and Humankind. However, My Universe with BTS, it sucks. It's terrible. It's so bad. If you like it, good for you. I'm happy that you like it. This song is just not for me. It is so boring, bland pop, and the BTS feature doesn't feel like it really adds to the song. They're just kind of there. So it's like, why did BTS really need to be on this song? But it is by far the biggest song off this album, of course, because BTS. Let Somebody Go with Selena Gomez is very just, I used to like that song a lot, and then again, the more I listen to it, the more it's like, Human Heart is just a bad version of Midnight from Ghost Stories. People of the Pride is pure Ford Truck Month, and the worst Coldplay song or one of the worst Coldplay songs I've ever heard in my life. Beautiful, so bad. It's infamous for its high-pitched, "You're so beautiful." Oh my god. This album's not good, except for two songs. And Coloratura is exceptional. Humankind's really good. Higher Power's okay. Everything else, no interest. So, unfortunately, I had to get through some negatives, but Music of the Spheres 2021, their most recent album, is the bottom for me. Number 8, A Head Full of Dreams. Now, don't worry, I'll stop being negative after this album. I know I have to trudge through some negative stuff first before we get to the positives. So, there's only 2 Coldplay albums that I would consider not good, and it's Music of the Spheres is flat out bad. Head Full of Dreams is so front heavy. The rest of the album is just kind of there. First of all, the album starts off with a bang with A Head Full of Dreams. It's very U2 inspired, you know, that U2 sound with the, you know, delayed guitars and that kind of stuff. And I love it. This 1-2 punch of Head Full of Dreams, the title track, and Birds, the second song. Oh, Birds kind of reminds me of Close to Me by The Cure in a weird way. It kind of gives me that same vibe. And Birds is a really good song. It's a very uplifting, kind of chimey number. And it's really good. Hymn for the Weekend, I understand why people don't like this song because it's a very just straight up pop number, but it's actually kind of cool. It's kind of cool. I kind of dig it. Everglow I can do without. I've never gotten into that song, but Adventure of a Lifetime is fantastic. It's just a great song. It has this groovy bass line, and it has some really great that great guitar lead. That's why we love Johnny Buckland, because he comes up with these simple riffs that are so effective. So Adventure of a Lifetime is really good. Could it be the best song on the album? For some people, yes. For me, personally, no. I think Head Full of Dreams is the best song in this album. Maybe Birds. But Adventure of a Lifetime is awesome. However, after Adventure of a Lifetime, the rest of this album is not good. Not good. Fun is not fun. Kaleidoscope is just a little instrumental thing with I think it's like a Barack Obama speech in the background. I might be wrong, so don't come after me if I'm wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure it's like a Barack Obama speech. It's like, why is that there? And then Army of One, oh, no. Amazing Day's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Color Spectrum is just an instrumental, and Up and Up, a lot of people like this song. When I listen to it, I can enjoy it in the moment, but it's not a song that I seek out to listen to independently. So for me, this album goes at number 8 because I think the first 5 songs, it's maybe Everglow questionable, but I'll include that in there. The first 5 songs are really strong. And everything after Adventure of a Lifetime, the 5th song, does not mean anything. So the first half of this album, really good. Second half, not good. And that puts it at number 8 for me. Number 7, Ghost Stories. Now, for this album, this is where I start to say that the albums are good. Everything from here on out, from 7 to 1, is good. Varying degrees of good. Now, Ghost Stories, even though it's at the number 7 spot, the difference between Ghost Stories and Music of the Spheres and Head Full of Dreams at 8 and 9 is monstrous. So just because I have it at 7 doesn't mean that it's the 3rd worst. It's just that there are other albums after this that we'll get to that I think are better than this. But Ghost Stories, like I said, is the start of the good albums. So Ghost Stories came out because Chris Martin basically was going through a divorce with Gwyneth Paltrow, and obviously that would make someone really sad, and so he wrote this album he never confirmed it, but it's kind of implied that this is about a certain someone, Gwyneth Paltrow, and it deals with themes of, like, you know, breaking up, lost love, just lost love, basically, a relationship breaking down, and that kind of stuff. And it's great. Always in My Head is a song that I used to not really care for, but then I listen to it more often. I'm like, you know what? It's kind of nice. Magic is, I think it was the lead-off single. It might have been Sky Full of Stars, but we'll get to that later. But Magic is a very kind of cool, basic, lo-fi kind of song with this, and that bass with the boom, 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 boom. True Love, I used to really like. I came down from this song a little bit, but it's still a good song. And I think that dissonant kind of guitar solo that happens later on in the song is really unique. And I like really unique things in songs, so having that really kind of dissonant bends by Johnny Buckland is kind of cool. And Midnight, oh my god, Midnight. Dude, ethereal dream pop to the max on this album. This is like a Bon Iver style song with the vocoder and that kind of stuff. But it's awesome. It's this very atmospheric, dark, moody, electronic song. Oceans is a really nice kind of throwback to Parachutes. Sky Full of Stars, I do like it. It's hard not to. I mean, I know it's the Sky Full of Stars is one of those like, oh god, they went pop. But it's good. It's good. And O could be one of the best songs on the album. O/Fly On. This very sad, ballad with Chris Martin singing, flock of birds hovering above. So from this album, we start the really good albums. So number 7, Ghost Stories. Number 6, Milo Xyloto. Now, with Milo Xyloto, this is an interesting story. I used to not care for this album. If I was making this video 2 years ago, I would have probably put this at the bottom. But the more I listen to this album, the more that I realize it's awesome. It's this really cheery, it's Coldplay just starting to go pop, but it's not the basic bland pop that A Head Full of Dreams and Music of the Spheres would introduce. This is pop, but done with a Coldplay coat of paint. Milo Xyloto and Hurts Like Heaven is this really great 1-2 punch that kind of sets the mood of the album and tells you that this album is very, fast-paced, uplifting. It's a very cool song, and I love the little guitar riff at the end. Really awesome. Paradise, of course, everyone knows Paradise, right? If you haven't heard it from this, you probably heard it from Minecraft. All those Minecraft parodies. For some reason, Coldplay were subject to a lot of Minecraft parodies. Charlie Brown is one of the songs that I used to not care for that much, and I heard it live when I went to go see them in Tampa in 2022, and it knocked my socks off. So good. The riff is awesome. It's very unique. It's very uplifting, kind of like, I guess, rebellious song. And it's just very bright, has an awesome riff, and it should get more love. I feel like it should have been a bigger song. Us Against the World's okay. The MMIX interlude, whatever. Every Teardrop is a Waterfall is the perfect blend of pop, but Coldplay magic fused together, and it's baller. And the rest of this album, I can jive with it. Don't Let It Break Your Heart's cool. Princess of China, I can kind of get into. And Major Minus is kind of, it's like God Put a Smile Upon Your Face, but Milo Xyloto version. So Milo Xyloto, very solid album. Still in the old play kind of style, and it rocks. So Milo Xyloto at number 6. Number 5, Parachutes. We go all the way to the debut, 2000, and Coldplay make their burst onto the scene with Parachutes. Now, of course, the biggest song from this album is Yellow. Everyone knows Yellow, Look at the stars, look how they shine for you. It's great. It's like a shoegazy sort of schmaltzy song. I mean, the lyrics are very basic, but the instrumental is captivating enough that you don't really think about it. Trouble is one of my favorite Coldplay songs. Probably make a top 20. Shiver is a very unique kind of fast-paced acoustic thing that has like a Radiohead tinge to it. A lot of these songs, like Spies, has Radiohead influence in it. And High Speed, We Never Change. It's all very acoustic, but of course this is the first album, so it's, you know, very acoustic, very light, and some pianos here and there. And it's just a very solid album, front to back. Nothing really nothing bad, flat out bad. It's all just solid, boom, 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 boom. So, number 5, Parachutes. Number 4, Everyday Life. Now, this is where, if you're watching this video, you'll be like, whoa, number 4, Everyday Life? What are you doing, man? Guys, this was sandwiched in between Head Full of Dreams and Music of the Spheres. And this album is Weezer level thematic changing. Because you know how Weezer, they'll do a theme like Van Weezer, and then they'll go to this Baroque pop thing, or I think it was reversed with OK Human. Something similar happens here where Head Full of Dreams, I'm like, it's okay. And then Everyday Life comes in, and it's a refreshing change of pace. Very organic instrumentals, lots of violins and cellos and orchestrations, a lot of piano, acoustic guitars, and very world influenced. And it's fantastic. It's a very experimental album. I like experimental albums. Arabesque is such, oh man, how did this song not go huge? Arabesque. Those saxophones. It rocks. It's awesome. Daddy is one of their most saddest songs ever. And you wouldn't know it because you see the song titled Daddy and you're like, what? Dude, tearjerker. Sunrise as an opening song is this beautiful violin or cello instrumental. Oh. And Church, the second song, is just this beautiful song. When I Need a Friend has some kind of choir things, or literally the whole song is choir. And there's a lot of colors in this album. A lot of different timbres, a lot of different textures, and the pacing is kind of all over the place. But I think that actually is kind of a good thing for this album because it's experimental. So, at number 4, Everyday Life. I really like this album. Number 3, A Rush of Blood to the Head. We get to the album that catapulted Coldplay into the limelight. This album, I almost had Everyday Life in front of A Rush of Blood to the Head here at number 3, but I came to my senses. So, Rush of Blood to the Head is number 3 because look at this track listing, guys. The first 5 songs, Politic, In My Place, God Put a Smile Upon Your Face, The Scientist, and Clocks. Clocks almost didn't make it on this album. It was almost shelved for the 3rd album, but thank God that it came on this album because I think if Clocks wasn't on here, this album wouldn't be nearly as big as it is. Clocks is, of course, one of their biggest songs ever. That piano riff is iconic. Politic is one of my favorite Coldplay songs, and it was written after, I think a little bit before 9/11, and it's just a really great thumping rock song with some orchestra in it. God Put a Smile Upon Your Face has a very strange tuning, and the live version is so good. I can't listen to the studio version anymore because it's like it pales in comparison to the live version. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go search on the Milo Xyloto tour. God Put a Smile Upon Your Face live 2011 or 12. Oh, face melter. And the rest of this album is pretty good too. Daylight is it's an album track, but it has a good atmosphere. Green Eyes I could never get into. I know a lot of people like this song, but the lyrics are just too Warning Sign is really good too. A Whisper, I know a lot of people don't like that song. I think it's cool. It's cool. It's different. A Rush of Blood to the Head, the title track, is this awesome like A minor thing with E minor, A minor. And oh, the live version from 2003 with Johnny Buckland's sliding guitar solo, really good. And Amsterdam, of course, a fan favorite. It's an awesome ballad. This album is just solid. With, you know, I could take Daylight and Green Eyes out for, you know, but I'm glad that they're there. Even if I may not like them that much. Just a really solid album, and this definitely deserves a number 3 spot over Everyday Life. And I like Everyday Life a lot, but I have to come to my senses and put Rush of Blood to the Head at number 3. Number 2, X and Y. I'm wearing an X and Y t-shirt right now. This used to be my number 1, and maybe some days it is. But it falls at the number 2 spot because you know what the number 1 is, but we'll get to that later. X and Y is Coldplay kind of going in the direction that everybody expected after A Rush of Blood to the Head. Faster pacing, bigger instrumentals, more fuller sound, and they introduced the use of synths into this album for the first time in their discography. Square One is a killer opener with the bow now 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 bow now 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 now. It's a great opener, and in the live 2005 concerts, it's a strong number 1 song. White Shadows has this thumpingness it's irresistible. It gets your head kind of banging, and Fix You is this, you know, when you try your best but you don't succeed. You know, the lyrics, but the instrumental, the second half with the instrumental with that, you know, awesome. Talk is a song that I wish the band embraced more, but they don't, because Chris Martin does not like this album. This was actually a bad time for them as a band because they didn't know what they were doing, what direction they went ahead in, and it was reportedly not a good time in the band when they were making this album. But the music that was generated from this, I think, is fantastic. Speed of Sound is Clocks Part 2. A Message is this acoustic thing that it's good. Low is probably my least favorite song on the album, but it's not bad. It's just I don't find that much interest in it. The Hardest Part is this kind of it's this basic love song, but it's captivating. Swallowed in the Sea has this very kind of lullaby melody. Twisted Logic I wish was played live, but it never was because, again, kind of like White Shadows, has this thumping instrumental when it's doing the pre-chorus to the chorus. It's great. And I wish How You See the World, which was a super B-side, was on this album. Really great album. And I see people not give this album a lot of love, and I think it should, because it's fantastic. So, number 2, X and Y. And finally, the number 1 spot. You know what it is. It's hard not to put this at number 1. Number 1, Viva La Vida and Death and All His Friends. This album deservedly, I'm pretty sure, won so many awards. This album won Best Rock Album at the Grammys. It was nominated Album of the Year, and at the Brit Awards it was nominated for British Album of the Year. This album is fantastic. Not a weak moment anywhere in this album. It's, trimming fat, very experimental with its themes of war and revolution and love. And there's much more from X and Y. The instrumentation on this album from X and Y is drastically different because Coldplay needed to evolve here. X and Y was kind of the last of the trilogy of Coldplay albums that had this kind of, the overall sound. And once Viva La Vida came around, they were like, guys, we got to switch up our sound. And so they used different instruments. and it's freaking awesome. Life in Technicolor is this awesome instrumental thing. I think it's called a Santoor. They're using the bum 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 banana dun dun dun. It's awesome. Cemeteries of London has these Spanish hand claps and has such a good guitar lead. Lost is this kind of, you know, tribal thumping thing to it. 42 is this kind of John Lennon-y ballad thing that has some like 3 different parts to it. And it kind of keeps you on your toes the whole time. Lovers in Japan is this awesome, you know, love song. Has a lot of imagery. Yes is this, Yes has this, you know, kind of like Indian or Middle Eastern violin riff in it that's so good. And then Chinese Sleep Chant is this My Bloody Valentine shoegaze 2-minute instrumental thing. Instrumental, I say. There are lyrics in the background, but you can't really hear them because they're drenched in reverb. You know, the My Bloody Valentine sound. And it's, one of my favorite Coldplay songs, Chinese Sleep Chant. Viva La Vida, of course, you know, I used to rule the world. One of the most original, best pop songs. I guess you can call it pop. If Eleanor Rigby can be considered a pop song in 1966 or 7, I consider Viva La Vida a pop song. It's very original, has some great lyrics. Violet Hill is one of their is actually, I'm pretty sure, their first kind of openly political song. And has, you know, no. Really, and it rocks. Strawberry Swing is this kind of Afro pop influence thing with the riff, and it's really, I'm pretty sure it is one of the most relaxing songs in their whole discography. And Death and All Its Friends with The Escapist as the bonus, or like the secret track, is such a good closer. So Viva La Vida and Death and All Its Friends is number 1 because if you haven't heard this album, you have to listen to it. It's so, if you think Coldplay's bad, I would highly encourage you to listen to this album and give them a second chance, because this album is nowhere near pop. But I think the lyrics and a lot of the misconceptions about Coldplay are not on this album. And it's really good. So anyways, that is my Coldplay ranking. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. Again, this is just my thoughts. If you like the songs that I don't like, fantastic. You can like them. And just let me know what you think about, you know, this ranking. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I know this was a long video, but thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next album ranking. Bye-bye.